Hi, in this video we are going to learn about variables in Java programming, and we learned how many types of variable in Java, like local variables, instance variable, class or a static variable, parameters and or arguments. So these are the four types of a variable we are going to discuss. We'll discuss some more how to declare variables and the way of declarations, and we'll discuss a small amount or few seconds about the primitive data type versus wrapper data type. And I'm assuming you have installed Java and Eclipse environment in your system before going ahead. So first, before going ahead, we'll start from types of a variable and one by one example, and after that we'll discuss little bit about the identifier and naming conventions of a variable and what we do and don't. So let me start that first identifier without any delay. So in just definitions, I'm not going to deal in much, but identifier is although a memory space have their own address, and that is the name of the variable, and what we can choose or give that a name like a character A to Z in caps, or in the lower case we can put that A to Z. We can put number 0 to 9, and numbers should not come at the beginning of the variable's name. So it must be a start with capital A to Z or a small a to Z, but in ideal situations it will start a small a to Z first letter, then we can put that a dollar symbol sign and underscore as well. So this is that a small discussions about the identifier. And before going ahead, I have just created one variables in Java programming project, Java project in Eclipse. How we will do, just you have to open the Eclipse, and after that just go in file, new, then Java project. It will ask the name of the project. You have to type variables underscore in underscore Java underscore programming over here, and click next and finish. After that, this project will be created and have that src, and by default whatever's there is there. And after that, you have to just right click on src folder and create that package and respective classes. So you have to do the just right click over src folder, new, then class, enter that name of a package like com.variables.tutorial by example. The name of the class, you can enter that like a class or a static variable in Java, and click on that this public static void main if required, click on finish. That's it. After that, you will able to see that the class like this one, instance variable like this ones, local variable class like this ones, and just create one by one. And now I'm going to discuss one by one in more details. So first we'll start from local variable. What is that and how we'll achieve that with help of that. So local variable, I can say local, these are the variables defined and used especially within the method level or method level scope, or in the block level, and the validity of that method variable will be that between that the open parenthesis and close parenthesis. Outside of that parenthesis we cannot use it. For example, if I'll say that a local variable I have declared int a is equal to 50 and int b is equal to 55 and c is equal to a plus b, then the scope of this variable this variable is within this parenthesis itself. and similarly the scope of a b and c is within this parenthesis. Reason why the and we cannot choose that any modifier on this, and the scope of this local variable will be end if your method is returning. After return we cannot use anything. So for example, I'll give that in a small demo for how it will be return will be applicable for that. Instead of a void, if I'll choose that a string and I'll put that a return over here, I'll put that a different name, underscore return, and it's saying that we have to put that a return as well, because I have put that return. It's expecting return of a string. I'll just put that a return and terminator. Now this method is finished. If you use the same variable just for printing purpose over here, then it will be say we'll get that error message unreachable code, because our variable a b c and this code will be not reachable, because this method will be returned from here itself. Whatever code is there and logic, it will not go over here. So in general definitions they will say that the local variable is those variable which will appear in the parentheses, and it must be a before return statement. So hopefully you understand this. Now I'm going to remove these ones because it's not required. Now we'll see in more details about local variable. So as per naming convention on identifier, we have seen that we like variable name or identifier will be a start from alphabet A to Z, and in caps or uppercase or lowercase, along with a number and 0 to 9, and we can use that underscore and dollar symbol. But underscore dollar symbols generally while doing the program we are not using, but at the time of generating the class with help of any tool that will be generated. And so for example, in local variable, just I have defined that int a value of a I have just put the 50. Again, int b value of b is equal to 55 and c is equal to a plus b. This is one way. Second way we can do that, like int a equals to 50 int a. If you'll see, if I'm putting the number syntax error, the delimiter token is not allowed. Due to that, it's coming that it will be required to put a variable name need to be started with a only, alphabet only. If I'll put that a1, it's accepting. If I'll put that underscore, it will also accept. If I'll put the dollar, it will also accept. So this is the number you can like a variable declarations or identifier. Now I'm going to declare two more variable the way of declarations, and I'm just putting b over here and c over here. I'll put that a1 space dollar plus b1 space dollar. Now we got that is c. So first way we can declare the variable like this ones, if that nature of a variable is the same, like same data type like integer, or we can also put that int a1 something like that, separate, and if there is a different data type, definitely we have to put the different, and we can use like this ones. Instead of that, I'll just put that as system output and see. C equals to so just make sure like variable name we need to make sure that is uppercase and lowercase, case sensitive. So if I'll put that A or C something like in caps, and if I'll use it in like in a different case, then it will not work. We'll see output of this. It's working. Result of C is equal to 100, and we got the result of output main method and print method. We'll see main method first. So in print method, we put that two types of variable declarations, like one in single row with the same nature of a data type. Second one, we put that a different integer with a different data type, and just printing. Similarly, in Java we have one main method at the time of that is required for executions of this class. Over here I have just put that second way to declaring the variable, what we did that over here, and I'm just printing the value of that, and I'm calling print method what we declare over here. Why I put the statics over here? Because I want to call in the main method without creating the object. If I'll remove the statics, then I have to create the object. We'll see in later session. So in recap of a local variable till yet we learned, we can declare that in single row, we can declare in multiple row. Naming convention, it will start from a small letter A to Z, after that followed by A to Z in caps or number, underscore or dollar. Number it will be like 0 to 9, and this is the naming conventions of a variable. And after that, a scope we understand. Third thing, we know that like we cannot use that after return statement. Now there is one modifier is also there. If I put that any modifier in local variable like a private, public and all, we'll get that error message, because illegal modifier for parameter A, only final is permitted. In local variable we cannot put that any modifier until unless that is not a final. So we learn all those things. This is all about in local variables in Java programming. Now we'll see instance variable. So similar to like instance variable, naming conventions on all it will be there, but only one difference will be there, that variable will be available at the time of say object creations only, until unless that will be not available. For example, and that will be on class level. We cannot put that like an instance variable to that like any block level. We have to put that we have to make sure that variable will be available outside of a parenthesis and inside that main after that a class parenthesis, and we can put that identifier over here like a private, public and protected, and accordingly we can access that variable as per their scope. In a scope we will discuss in later. So as of now I want to use that, I have put that naming convention like a private int, type of a data type I'm using int, so I just indicate I in a small I, that will be identify easily that is a integer variable, and instance variable, and value of that instance variable is equal to 100. So this instance variable I can use that at the time of a object, after that object creations and with help of that object. But if that object will be destroyed, then that value will be not any more usable. For example, if I use that direct instance variable, that variable is there in an instance variable, and I use that without creating the object. Oh, sorry. without creating the object, it's saying that cannot make a statics reference to non-statics field I variable. So because I'm unable to take, okay, so in that state it's saying that either I have to declare this variable as a statics, so that will be again a statics. That variable will be known as a class or a statics variable, not a instance variable. So now we understand that instance variable and their scope. So the scope of instance variable will be alive once the object will be created, and once the object will destroy, it will be destroyed from the memory. So now by creating that instance of that class, we got that object. Now with help of a new operator we created that instance. Now with help of that instance, if I'll put that a dot over here, we'll get that instance, whatever reference field is there, we'll get. So after dot we can use that all these are the things which is available at the time of after that object creations. So the variable is there, I instance variable, and we can use. Now if I execute this program, we'll get that a output, this instance variable value is equal to 100. We got that output of instance variable 100. But if I'll create that n number of a variable, and if I'll change the state of that variable, then the new value will be stored in that variable. For example, as of now, we'll go over here, we'll create one more instance, and I'll just pass the constructor. Okay, so what I did that this is the instance variable. So instance variable directly we can refer with a, okay, so one more parameter required, because default constructor and parameterized constructor. So because I didn't pass anything over here, then it's ask it will got that error message. So I need a one parameterized, one non-parameter instance as well. Now I'm going to create another instance with a passing that 300, and I'll put that one object 1. Now we got that object 1. If I'll copy this, I'll take that instance variable, name of this one console instance variable. So by default we'll see the output. Earlier one, it's taking the output as 100, because the instance variable over here we got that by default 100, and in creations of a first object we didn't do that any change in that variable. So the instance label, that variable value, we got that this value 100, and it's printing over here as 100. The output of some variable is something like that. Whereas in second instance I put that the value as 3000, and in that I just pass a constructor for that class, and I pass that argument and parameter as I, and this dot instance variable I just initialize that whatever value will be there, then it will be put that another one. Similarly, if I'll put that something one more object like a 2, and we'll change the value over here, what will be happen? We'll get that first 100, second time we got the 300, and for one 3999 we got. So now we have only one method main, but in a stack area we'll get that 3 reference for of instance variable, one for with 100, second one with 300, and for one third one with 3999. So this is all about instance variable, and we can access that instance variable with this keyword. One more thing, there is a scope issue we have to discuss. We'll discuss in that instance variable itself. Like this what we have a scope issue with a variable. So for example, I'll put like one more constructor, and I'll put the same name. I'll remove that this keyword. Now okay, duplicate method, because okay, in that scenario I'll put that over here, one more parameter, int b. Okay, now we'll get the, it will be at the time of executions it will be now. The question is that the scope is we have discussed, right? Now it's accepting there is no issue, because we have one constructor while getting that integer parameter, and over here just we are passing the 300 and 3999, and it's assuming we are just using this one. So but the issue is that there nothing will be happening. If you'll see, suppose whatever is there, we have an instance level variable is equal to 100, and over here with help of this method earlier without using this ones and this keyword, it was like overriding the value. In the output we are getting that 100, 300 and 3999, whereas now we are getting that only value of 100, because it's this method is not unable to identify which variable I have to overwrite with, and it's unable to override that instance variable. And with help of that it's printing that by initials value. But if we'll put that this over here, so with help of that it will be identify at the time of object creations itself, it will be override this value with that instance variable, and it will be returned. So if we'll see the output now, output will be 100, 30,000 and 3999. Reason why this keyword will use for current instance and whatever object will be there. For example, I'll get a space, and if we tab it, we'll get that with help of this as well, whatever variable will be there. So with this is the keyword in Java. With help of that we can use that instance variable. And if we remove that this keyword over here, that is a scope issue. It will be a scope issue, and it will not identify that which variable I'm going to override. And at the time of object creations it will take a instance variable, which is what by default value we have. So for example, instance variable, if I'll remove that by default value, then what will be happen? It will be by default in integer, some value will be there like a default value. So it will take that default value and it will be print. And if I'll put that this over here again, so we'll get that some initially we got that 0, and in other whatever value we are assigning, we'll get that. So that's all about instance variable, and we discussed that scope issue. Now we'll see that class or statics variable. So class or statics variable are those variable which is declared at that like similar to instance variable, but only one difference is that we have to use that statics keyword, and that variable will be there only one time and in the memory, and it will be used, and at the time of object creations for per object, it will be that will be there. If you override the value for that object, that scope will be limit, and we cannot use that variable. We can use after that and that as well, because the value will be override. For example, we'll see one by one. So for declaring the class or statics variable, just we have to same syntax, like a public any modifier statics int. If data type is int, then use that I in a small class or statics variable and some value. If value will be there 1, that's fine, otherwise it will take by default. So by default it's taking a 0, so better just put that 1. And now we got that a statics variable. Second thing, we can declare that a statics variable or class level variable with a final, but the naming conventions will be all in uppercase with a alphabet and number along with underscore and dollar symbol, but letter must be in uppercase in case of a final. And similarly we have a constructor like that, that is a class. Now we are just using that a statics keyword, and we say that this is the class level variable, so nothing is required, object creations is not required. We can use directly a statics variable in anywhere in that a class, and with help of a object as well. After creating the object, we can also use that a class variable with help of a object reference and or without a object reference as well. For example, we'll run and see. As of now, output of a class statics variable value is equal to 200. So 200 we are getting a statics variable class value, that is nothing value of this one I class, that is a final one. Second one, output of a class or a statics variable by object by 1. So with help of a object we got that output of this variable as a 1, but before that I just want to print without a object. So even though it's taking that output is equal to 1, and second one with help of a object also it's taking that 1, and third one if I'll print that with help of a object also, like a statics variable or class variable, it's printing the object. Now we can change the value of a non-private equals to 300, and if we'll print again this statement, then what will be happen? We'll get that output 300, and because till over here it was a class level variable value was 1, but now I just override in this object, and with help of this object we can use that another variable. If I'll print that first statement, now what will be there? Earlier one is a 1, this one, but in object level we change that value 300 now, and or without object level, then also it's changing the value both, because there is only one reference is there. Reason why? That is a statics, and that is a class or a statics level, class level. But in case of an instance, if we're changing that, it will be changing that their state according to that object scope, right? So this is all about. And one more thing, we cannot change that a private variable. So for example, or final variable, if I'll put that something over here, it will give that a error message. What will be there? The final field class or statics itna variable cannot be assigned, or we cannot be change anything. That is a final or fixed. Now we understand that a statics variable or class variable. In fourth one example, we'll see that a parameter or argument, that will be also a type of a variable. that is also a type of a variable. So the parameter variable we have already learned in that like another one, but we'll see this example in a small. So we have again first example, similar to first example, local variable, like we have a print method and main method, where in print just we are passing that one argument or parameter that is known as a parameter variable, and the scope of that parameter will be limited in that body. So it will be similar to that local variable, but we can change that, we can use only in that body part, and there is no manipulations and nothing will be happen on this variable. So and after that just we are passing that I'm passing that one parameter, and I'm just storing in the local object like local variable, and I'm just using that local variable for print purpose, and I'm just creating that one object over here for that class and calling that the print method. So if I'll see, we got that this is a example of a argument or parameter variable type. So this is all about all four type of variables. In one small things we are going to discuss in next video or tutorial, that is how that object variable will be stored in a stack and heap at that like the type of JB memory space. So in recap we learned that type of variables in Java programming, like local variable, instance variable, class or statics variable, parameters and arguments. We learn that a scope of that variable, a scope issue of that variable. We learn how to data type, declaring the variable like integer, name of a variable, the value, comma, second variable value, and something like that. Second step we learn that declaring the variable like integer age, something like that, and single line. And we learn about that primitive data type like integer, float, and double. Wrapper we'll see in next session. Tutorial I have already published in textual form. You can go through that like in Java link, Java tab, and in my website www.tutorialbyexample.com, and you'll find that variables in Java, local variable in Java programming, instance variable in Java programming, class or statics variable in Java programming, about parameter argument variable in Java programming, and video will be there in video sections and just over here, and you can watch that video. And thank you very much for watching my video and tutorial. If you like, then like it and share, and don't forget to subscribe.